at Midway High School. Let's go straight to our special guests, Paul Catalina, David Smoak, and Craig Smoak in studio with so many others. Thanks to Kyle Robarts today as well. But Nicki Collen, Baylor women's basketball coach, joins us in studio on SicEm365 Radio. I want to start with this. How is your elasticity?
My elasticity? In regards to what? I
heard you went to go check your elasticity, and it was a bad day.
Ouch. All right, I'm slightly competitive, and I'm also like a technology, sports performance kind of geek. I think it's the engineering background. So they'd gotten the new force plates, and I thought, well, why don't I just try them out down here when I'm with Jeremy? So yes, I was highly disappointed in how high I jumped, but I've got a lot of room for growth because I remember being a much better leaper than. But you can't use your arms, and so it really does kind of teach you a little bit about how you jump, what kind of athleticism you have, and really the goal of it is to prevent injury, to help players understand, how to help them get better, understand fatigue, a lot of things. So yes, my elasticity. I've never been someone that's had a lot of hamstring flexibility. So there's definitely work to do.
And the competitive part of you will make sure that gets even better. And
Yeah. I mean, I went up to the office and literally everyone was like, "Why are you depressed?" So I had to tell the story.
Depressed.
Yeah. So yeah.
Nicki, you've now been the head coach for quite some time. I know you guys are working out as well. You've had a chance. How important was that option, knowing that you had taken over a brand new program and obviously a program with incredible standards, that you've had a chance to do the workouts this summer?
Yeah, I think it's been really, really important. I'm a firm believer in sweat equity. So being able to be out on the court with them, be able to demonstrate, be able to, be their hype person if that's what they need. Certainly when we started, it was just Tari and I, then we added Tony. So allowing Tony and Tari to take some more of a lead in the post and guard workouts now that I've kind of laid the groundwork and expectations. But it's been great to see them work. I know they've been working extremely hard. This is week 4 for us. In terms of being in the weight room and being on the court. And this is the first time they've ever done summer basketball workouts. So, it's a new challenge for them as well, but something that they've really embraced.
How much of it, the workouts for you aren't really even about the workouts, it's just about you need to know them, well before you get into the season?
It's a little bit of everything. It's first of all, it's understanding what their skill set is. You can judge that based on a game. But it's different when you get them on the court and you're working individually. And it's also what I've seen in the past is defined by what they were allowed to do, in someone else's system. So really understanding strengths and weaknesses, understanding how hard they compete, seeing frustration and being able to say, hey, it's June, you're going to be frustrated. This is different. We're going to put you in a lot of pick and rolls, a lot of two-man. You're going to have to learn these reads. And so you're not going to get it right every time, but it's June, like in November, it'll be a little different. And so it's really getting a jump start in terminology and a lot of things at how we talk about what we do, what our expectations are in terms of how they work and how they compete with one another and for one another.
Saw the video when you first arrived on campus and your family and you were touring the facilities. What was that experience like? What were your thoughts seeing, what you had at your disposal as far as the arena, the locker rooms, all of that?
Gratitude. Certainly going back, I've coached at every level. Mm-hmm. I think even with the Atlanta Dream, ironically, we took the job. We wanted to move practice facilities. My GM and I think, toured about 19 different places before we found what we thought was the best version. We're talking from Wise to church facilities to all kinds of things. So I know what a good facility can feel like. Going back to Arkansas, we were in design stages of their practice gym, even picking carpet out before, that kind of time ended. So it's nice to have those things at our disposal. Certainly it's to me, the resources are great. It's still more about the people. It's about having the right people. So, then you can take advantage of those resources. If you don't have the right people, you're never going to take advantage of all the things that you have to offer, whether it's in the training room or the weight room or in the gym. So, that's been as important to me as anything, so that we do a good job utilizing the facilities.
With the offense you've discussed and what you want, and with the players you have, how much more versatile will they be or allowed to be in your offense?
Well, that's what they need to be. I mean, ultimately, I think the guards are happy because they're going to be allowed to shoot threes, certainly, and Baylor was a team that shot a good percentage from three. It wasn't that they couldn't. It's just they didn't shoot a high volume of threes. So we do need to open that up. I do believe in the analytic game. Not that we won't take mid-range jump shots, not that it's all about free throws, layups, and threes, but certainly there's a reason why we've gotten to those analytics, and a lot of numbers can be understood that a lot of the best teams are successful in those areas. So, I think it's getting Nalissa and Queen comfortable on the perimeter with the ball, getting them passing and screening, getting them in the pinch post area and being able to reverse pivot and play. So I think certainly things that they're going to enjoy doing. They will touch the block. I'm not suggesting they'll never be on the block, but they're not going to live there. We're going to screen them to there. We're going to back screen them. We're going to cross screen. We're going to do a lot of different things to get them to the block, but I believe in a clean lane. And so as much as we can, the lane's going to be clean, and we're going to be moving people in and out of the lane rather than parking them there.
How quickly are they picking it up? Like all the new stuff?
Well, I mean, it's a little hard to say, to be honest with you, because it's nice to be able to I'm a firm believer in you put the whole thing in, and then you start working on the parts, right? So you big picture, then work on the parts. So they have seen the continuity that the offense can provide, but then it's just about, some of it is having healthy players too. We've got players in varying degrees of readiness, so being cognizant of that. So some days it's just, hey, we're getting a lot of shots up today. Some days it's, for those that are healthy, we can go 2-on-2 and guard in a post and get into ball screen action, get into pin down action, play out of the pin down. But, it's not going to happen overnight. I'm not putting in a 5-out motion offense, but you still have to understand the reads in two-man game. You have to, and whether the point of attack is a ball screen or a pin down, it takes time to learn what that means, learn to read it. Okay, I didn't have the shot coming off the pin down. What's next? I'm going to play to the pinch. I'm going to play to a step up. So there's a whole lot that goes into that right now, we're just at the beginning stage of kind of showing, feeling, touching that.
We've talked to lots of new coaches who come in, and everybody has their own way of doing things. Some don't want to really know anything that happened previously and start clean. Some kind of want to know, watch film and learn the players and then go from there. Where are you on that? Or do you kind of start clean slate with everybody, or do you want some knowledge of what they have done previously?
It's a little of both. First of all, you don't come from where I came from and not have watched a lot of film on these guys. Right. It would be different if I was going to a school that didn't have pro prospects. But the fact that, Queen and Nalissa and even Didi and Dejanay, those guys were all pro prospects. So I was watching them closely before I ever got the job. So the focus hasn't been, let me go back, though I did go back and watch a lot of film on Kamari at Penn State. What does she look like when she's healthy, So I'm doing a little bit of both, but I do want to see, what can they do, and really reprogram them. You take a kid like Caitlin Bickle, who's been such a role player here with obvious understanding of, she got to this program, there was Lauren Cox, there's Kalani Brown, she's in the same class with Nalissa and Queen, she's coming off of an injury, but really challenging her to say, okay, so your role has always been a backup. It doesn't have to stay that way. I'm always going to appreciate a player that puts team first, but the best way she can make us a better team is to decide she's going to compete with Nalissa and Queen every day and make them better ultimately, but also there's going to be times when her with one of those two is a really good lineup for us. And so getting her to change her mindset And that doesn't mean you're not a good teammate. It doesn't mean that you're not putting team first to say, here's what I can bring to the table, and I'm not going to be in this box anymore. You know, like I think it's everyone like stepping outside of what their comfort zone was. And I tell them all the time, you got to get uncomfortable. You got to get comfortable with being uncomfortable, because I'm going to put you in new situations. And just because this was the box you were in before, and it was really effective, and you won a lot of games, and you personally even had a lot of success, like it doesn't mean that's the way we're going to play. So, you know, it's kind of getting them to understand that they almost need to wipe the slate clean too, and to just really be open to, you know, a different way of thinking, a different way of coaching, and really different viewpoints.
You mentioned how you got to scout this team a lot or watch this team a lot because of the amount of pro prospects. Is that something that maybe you're uniquely set to do because the WNBA season and the women's college basketball season don't overlap at all, really, except maybe, I guess, at the beginning a little bit. But you can really sit down and watch and scout a little bit more than you know, a college basketball and NBA overlap tremendously.
Yeah, I mean, there's zero overlap. I mean, and so because of that, you know, normally even our conference meetings are at the Final Four. Obviously, this last year with COVID, slightly different. Normally, we would have seen more games in person. Like, I probably would have come down for the Baylor-UConn game just to be in that environment and see players in person play in a highly competitive game. But, you know, I was always watching games, and part of that is it was my job. It was my job to know people, and part of it is I'm just a basketball nut. So if I'm not watching a college game, I'm watching a European game, or I'm watching an NBA game. So I'm always watching anyway, but certainly it's just part of my job to know the players that are coming and to really look not just at that year, but what's coming next year, you know, what's coming in 2 years, you know, and I was telling the girls the other day, like, I'm going to know birth dates, you know, because okay, you're watching Paige Beckers, you're watching Caitlin Clark, and there's all this conversation about them. You know, I knew at the time Paige could come out after a junior year and Caitlin couldn't, just based on their birth dates. So that's how far out we're thinking, projecting, like who's going to be in the class in 2 years, who's going to be in a class in 3 years. So, you know, yeah, you're always kind of paying attention to the college game at that level.
I think that when the transition occurred, and even before you took the job, that there was probably concern about mass exodus. And there's going to be attrition anytime there's a coaching change. And then now the transfer portal. You held on to the major core. Not that some good players didn't move on. And I know what you said about Moon Urson and what kind of person she is, and you'd love to have kept her as well. You have a roster that's still a little bit light. Mm-hmm. Do you feel like you will have, by the time you get to where you need to be, that you'll have 10, 11, 12 players? You got.
I like where you started, but I'm not sure that where you finished. I think it's important. Look, there's a standard of expectation here. Mm-hmm. You know, that there were certainly players in the portal that were available that I'm sure if I'd have called would have said, I'll come. But I don't know that it makes sense to add people that don't add value. And so I think that's the bottom line. Are we adding people that are adding value? And value can mean a lot of different things. It doesn't mean they have to come in and be a starter. It doesn't mean they're going to be the next Nalissa Smith. But based on when I was hired, there was no one in the portal that was like Power 5 level type of player that you could even project long-term is going to be a really important piece of the puzzle here. So, you know, we've just been very intentional about who are we talking to. Obviously, Jamie Asbury, someone that we thought, you know, added that three-point shooting, you know, someone who understands this league and can make us better. So we add her. You know, we're always in the portal. We're prepared to add somebody. I mean, look, tomorrow's a big day because tomorrow's the last day players can go in the portal and qualify for, you know, the one-time transfer status where they can play right away. So I don't know that there's going to be a lot of movement after tomorrow in terms of who goes in. And so, you know, we've told our team, hey, there might only be 8. We may add some walk-ons in the fall to have practice players. But, you know, take the Notre Dame team a couple years ago that won the national championship. They had the right 8 players. And at this point, what I feel good about is that we have 8 players currently that we have every position covered with backups. They're all good. I can play all of them. And I just firmly believe that you can create an amazing chemistry when you have a group of players that all know they're going to have a significant role in what you do. So, yeah, you can have 13 players, but if 3 of them don't play, what are they adding? What are they adding to your team? And so, assuming health, so yes, we're looking. We've had people on campus. But, I'm just going to say we've got the 8 that we've got right now, and I hope to get 1 or 2 more. But I'm going to be comfortable either way.
You have one more coaching job open, right? Mm-hmm. Is that something? You got a smile on your face. You going to announce that right now for us?
No, I'm not going to announce that right now. I'm not. But yes, I can tell you that she will be on board sooner rather than later.
Well, we got 50% of it.
There
right
you go.
There. We got okay.
All right, good deal. There's a whole bunch of people we can eliminate right off that clip.
Exactly. There you go.
It's not Odyssey Sims, is it?
It is not, though I will tell you I've had conversations with Odyssey because I think long-term, I think she'd love to coach.
Yeah.
She actually reached out to me, it was probably a month or so now, and I said, well, are you retiring? And she said, no, I'm not quite ready to retire. But I think she's starting to. I mean, having had Jaden in the last year and thinking, projecting forward, I do think it's a little bit in the back of her mind. I don't think right now that, adding someone that can't be fully committed to the mission, so to speak, is the right thing. And I know there have been WNBA players that have been on staffs, but I think it's easier when you're established, when you have, a group of people that have worked together. When you're at the ground floor like this staff is right now, and we're grinding until 11 o'clock every night, I mean, it's a little hard to stay kind of a person down half the year, because a WNBA season is really, it's 6 months if you're on a decent team. So you're talking about half the year where that person can't be as involved as they probably need to be.
So it's been, 5 years since you were last in the college game. How different or complicated, or how much are you having to learn about recruiting and what all can go on with that now as compared to when you were last in the college game? Because obviously a lot has changed in the last 5 years.
A lot has changed, but I can tell you, not at the foundation, not at what it means to get players interested, who you have to get to know. I mean, you got to know with every person who's going to be a part of their decision-making process. So it's about getting to know the player. It's about getting to know, if it's a single-parent home, is it a two-parent home? Is it the AAU coach that's involved? Is it the high school coach that's involved? Pretty quickly you can get up to speed on who the top players are in 23, who the top players are in 24. This is the first day we haven't had people on campus. Since I don't know when. It's just it's a little bit of a break for us. But I mean, we've had 24s on campus, we've had 23s, we've had 22s. I mean, it's just recruiting is a grind, but it's the lifeblood of any program. So I don't know that a ton has changed. Yes, there's intricacies to the rules at times. Yes, this year was thrown off by COVID in terms of kind of the calendar, but as we go back to a more traditional calendar, as we pass through kind of this COVID stretch, I'm starting back on the road with everybody else who didn't get to go on the road last year. So, we'll go out next week and I'll be in 5 spots in 7 days. We'll be back for 10 days and then back out for 5. So I certainly know how to watch and evaluate talent and then communicate with kids and families.
A young lady named Sammy Martin up in Platteville broke your record for scoring points in a career.
Yep.
And I was told you couldn't go see her because of COVID, or maybe your schedule as well, but you sent her a video message. Mm-hmm. What'd you say to her?
Oh, boy. I don't remember. I think it was more of, and I even did a Zoom, their end of the season banquet. I Zoomed with the Platteville team because, unfortunately, their season got cut short. I think they were undefeated, and the state tournament got cut off in the semis,
sure.
Right before. So you talk about heartbreaking for them. It's really funny because I didn't even know I had the record. So that's how kind of crazy it was. And they'd gotten a new high school coach who, when I was with the Dream, had reached out to me about bringing me back and being more involved. And so, I mean, I was just grateful to kind of reconnect. I hadn't been back in a number of years. I mean, coaching is so nomadic and it's crazy. The only time I was ever back, even in Southwest Wisconsin, was when I was at Florida Gulf Coast. I recruited a kid named Hannah Whitish from Barneveld High School, which was kind of in the same area as Platteville, and she ended up going to Nebraska and playing there. But, I hadn't been back. But, I mean, I don't remember what the message was. Records are meant to be broken.
Sure.
I mean, I think when I left middle school, I think I had the 50, the 100, the 200, the 400, the high jump, and the long jump record. And it was like, how long were those going to last? Like, I mean, I don't even know that I run that fast or jump that high. So, I mean, I think you just always expect those things to be broken. Like, I can still remember being a high school kid, and Sonia Henning, who played at Stanford, had the state scoring record. And that, when I used to dribble around in the driveway, it was like, that's what I was thinking about. I was thinking about breaking her record. And ironically, I was nowhere near it because I was such a pass-first point guard that I was nowhere near the scoring record. But my AAU teammate, Angie Hallbly, broke it my senior year. So one of my very best friends ends up breaking that record, which was then broken probably 2 or 3 more times since then. But yeah, I mean, records are meant to be broken. So you're just always happy. I was happy for them that they were successful because Platteville hasn't always been successful in girls' sports.
Melvin Hunt, Billings, others have said that no one's going to outwork you and that you are a sponge when it comes to basketball or soaking in basketball knowledge. That you used to go after practice when the Hawks were practicing, which is great because where they are now in the conference finals, and won last night without Trae Young. Where did that come from in you? Where did all that come from?
I mean, I think a lot of it is just, first of all, it's in my DNA. I think that I was raised, I've always said in our household, I was raised with this like sense of expectation. Like it was just excellence was expected in our house. So, my brother and my sister and I were all valedictorians of our high school classes. You didn't bring bad grades into the house. You didn't cause trouble. I don't know. I mean, and now did I feel scared to like bring a B home? No. So I think I just grew up where like you just were expected to do your best. Like it was just whatever you were doing, whatever sport, whatever activity, whatever you were doing, you were supposed to do your best. And so I think a lot of it is that. And then, I mean, ultimately, why am I that way with basketball? Because it's the thing I first fell in love with, like I played every sport. I mean, I played soccer, I played Little League baseball, I played volleyball in high school. I mean, I tried everything. I played everything. Basketball was the first thing that I can truly say I enjoyed everything. And I'm so grateful that I got to be in 4 sports in high school and wasn't a specialty person, but basketball was my first love. And so I just always feel like there's something more I can learn. And when I'm watching a game, you talk about the Hawks or whatever, when I'm watching basketball, I don't watch it as a fan. Like I don't know how that feels anymore. Like now it doesn't mean I don't enjoy it, but I'm watching what are they running? Who are they trying to take advantage of? What's the mismatch? How are they defending? Who's tagging the roller? I mean, you're watching off the ball, you're watching the pace of the game, you're watching the physicality of the game. And so I always want to learn more. I want to watch, that's why I watch European basketball. What are the international trends? As the game becomes more and more versatile and more positionless, how are people utilizing, people in this game? So I mean, it's just, I have a passion about it. So I don't always consider it work. Because I love it.
So you've got one of those Fran Fraschilla basketball minds where I could be like, hey, what's going on in Latvia? And you could tell me.
Well, I don't know about Latvia because Latvia is not exactly a country that like produces a ton of women's basketball players. Though I do actually follow a few of the beauty of COVID was that it connected coaches like I think they've never been connected before. And So I got connected to a coach with a G League team, and he's always posting international videos. So now I'm like watching all these coaches, men's coaches overseas, and some of the actions that they run. And, you know, you always have to understand, like, are they going to translate to the women's game? Not everything translates, you know? Like, you can't, I mean, as good as Trae Young is, like, he can throw a bad pass and John Collins can go get it and tomahawk dunk it. You know, like there's a little more room for error because of the athleticism. So sometimes you have to ask yourself the questions like, is that open because of the level of athlete, or is that open because, man, that's just hard to guard? So, but yeah, I certainly know the game. I mean, Serbia upset France for the Eurobasket championship last week. That was huge. Like, you know, France and Spain are always the favorites. And so, you know, it just, yeah, I watch a lot of basketball.
What's it like to have met Mack Rhodes for the first time? Did you feel just kind of pretty quickly like, hey, I think this is going to be a pretty good partnership? Can you explain just sort of the evolution of that?
Yeah, I mean, I first talked to Mac, like, I guess my interview was on a Sunday. I mean, he interviewed me over the phone on Thursday. You know, I thought we had a pretty good connection, but if you haven't figured out, like, I can make friends with just about anybody. So I just enjoy getting to know people and having conversations. And so, you know, I don't know if I thought it was going anywhere. I just, you know, I appreciated the conversation. I appreciated being a candidate. You know, you grind in this profession, and I was really happy where I was at, but it's always nice to feel like people are recognizing your success or recognizing that you're good at what you do. And so, you know, but I think spending the time that I did with him, you know, through the interview process, and it was really that whole team. It was Mac, it was Jovan, it was Paul and Kevin. Like, I mean, Jovan's become like family for me already. Like, she's my sport administrator, and you know, I mean, she kind of gets us. She gets our staff. She gets our humor, like, and our sarcasm, and kind of the joy that we have in our office space. So, but I think Max sees things in people. I mean, Jovan describes us as being very similar in how we communicate and how we see people and see the best in people, and maybe that sometimes we're both a little too nice. You know, yeah. That's why I always say, like, that's why I hired Tari, because Tari can kind of be my heavy when I need heavy, you know, like, because she just is like, come on, Nicki, like, that person is telling you what you want to hear, you know. So like having that little voice sometimes is important.
Did the women's practice facility floor, when Scott Drew walked in there for that picture, to take a picture of the two of you together, did that floor rumble?
I don't know.
What do you remember that moment?
Yeah. I mean, those guys are great. I mean, they're practicing our practice gym right now.
Are they really?
Yeah.
Brittney Griner. There's been some incredible players at Baylor basketball history, and she's one that obviously goes down perhaps as the greatest of all time. And it didn't end well with her at Baylor. It was tough, and there was reasons behind it. Have you reached out to embrace her?
She actually reached out to me the day I was hired. So, look, the WNBA circle is so small. Like, women's basketball in general is small. When you've got a league of 144, which isn't even ever 144, because some teams have 11 players, and you stick everybody at IMG Academy and sharing the same buffet line and the same pool, and, you know, like, it was, you know, and not that you don't ultimately end up making connections with people anyway. Like, if you treat people badly in the WNBA, you won't get a free agent. I mean, it's a part of that whole world where your best advocates are the players you've coached, because they're the ones that, you know, are gonna, you know, tell the tea, you know, on you. And so, you know, I don't feel like I had a super close relationship with Brittney. I'm not going to pretend that, like, that Brittney was my buddy or anything like that. but you're friendly with people, and people kind of know who you are. And then I had started to actually this off season, I'd gotten to know her agent a lot better, not because of Brittney, but because of some other clients she had. And so there was just this very quick, like, Brittney hitting me, saying congratulations, excited for you, excited to get back to Baylor. I think this is just perfect timing. And then her agent connecting with me and saying, let's do something really big, let's do something really cool with her. So yeah, we haven't had a lot of conversations since then. I feel like it's the middle of her season. It's her go time. But as things slow down, we'll definitely reconnect.
How did IMG Academy change you guys as a league? that whole thing, like, because again, you can't, like, you wouldn't see, like, the NBA, they were in bigger hotels, like, maybe Chris Paul and LeBron James cross paths, but definitely you were definitely going to cross paths with whoever at IMG.
Yeah, I think the funniest part about it was how much, and some coaches and players struggled with being so closely interacting with the officials. See, I've just always believed, like, kill them with kindness. So I'm not that person that's, like, embarrassed of what I said, like, the night before when I see the officials the next morning, because a lot of people, let's face it, really sane, really normal, really good people say a lot of insane things to officials, that then the next day, if you saw them, you'd be like, wow, like, okay, I'm going to get my oatmeal and I'm going to go. So I think that was, it'd kind of be like, dang, she teed me up last night and now I'm going to go sit by her in a lounge chair by the pool, like, in my off time. So, but I think as a league, it was just a unique experience. It was literally like going away to summer camp. You just weren't allowed to leave. We would ride our bus because we had a remote facility that we played in, but you didn't get off the bus until you got to the facility. And there was, ironically, like this carnival, this drive-through carnival with, like, corn dogs and funnel cakes and all that stuff. And every time you drive by, you'd be like, can we just go through that? Like, can we do something normal? Can we take the bus through this drive-through carnival and get some funnel cakes? But I do think it connected players. You got to know players better from other teams. You got to know their stories better. It was... you had to, we were sharing courts. We were coming and going. You'd face the person that you lost to the night before, and you'd be practicing on the court literally next to them with a curtain between you the next day. So you kind of had to really put the league as a whole above, like, your person, like sometimes even your own team, like you had to do that a little bit. You had to prioritize and say, man, for our league to survive this year, this is what we have to do. And no one wants to do this, but we've got to do this.
I grew up in that part of the country. It's probably best that you didn't get out that much.
Nicki, what did it mean when the players who were coming back told you they were staying?
I mean, it's always going to feel good. And I have to tell you, like, I didn't have to work too hard to get Nalissa or Jordan. I mean, because your best advocates are the people that say good things about you without you having to do that. Like, when you don't have to sell yourself to a player, and look, I don't want to give myself too much credit here, because I'm not sure that, say, Caitlin and Nalissa and Queen weren't already like, hey, let's stay together. Like, we came in together. Let's, as long as they don't hire an idiot, which Mac was never going to do, like, as long as it's someone that we think is okay, like, let's do this together. Because Baylor is us, Baylor is us. But, I know that Ray Caldwell, who coached Nalissa in club basketball, immediately was like, hey, like, the Lord just, like, dropped a professional coach in your lap, and this is what you want to be, Al Honor with Central Florida Elite was the same way with Jordan. Like, you're going there to win and be a pro, and, like, so, having other people speak for you because you have relationships with those people and they know those players and they know what their goals are and they know what they want. I I didn't try to sell them on what I could do for them. I just tried to sell them on, like, this is who I am. Like, this is why I'm here. This is why I want to be here. This is what I think Baylor can be. But certainly for the players that were considering transferring, I'm like, look, that's okay too. Like, you chose Baylor for reasons that weren't me. And maybe it's not even me, you know? I mean, I look at someone like Trinity Oliver. I mean, she spent 4 years of her life here. She graduated from here. You know, I'm not sure that she has any problems. Like, I think I'd be comfortable with anyone calling her and saying, like, hey, she and I built a really good relationship, but she'd spent 4 years here. She got her degree. She was looking for a different experience with basketball. And look, I wouldn't have wanted to be the one that if she spent a year here and didn't get what she wanted out of this experience here, that would have held her back from doing something that, you know, might be good for her. So hopefully she gets exactly out of basketball what she wants at the University of Washington, because, you know, that's what I would want for any player. I transferred. I mean, I played on a team that went to the Final Four. I went 2 Big Ten championships. Like, there were great parts of that. But my experience at Marquette, like, being someone that played 35 minutes a game, that was in there at crunch time, that helped my team, you know, win an NCAA tournament game, like, those are memories that I'll always cherish. So I think there's a right reason to leave, a wrong reason to leave, but every player has to make that personal decision for them.
Last question for you. We appreciate your time. We really do. Kyle, thank you so much. What happens if somebody underestimates you?
I guess they figure it out later. I mean, I just think a lot of times, I do think a little bit, I have a little bit of the underdog mentality. And I do think, because I'm not always the loudest or boldest or, you know, I have my way about going about things. Like, even when, you know, I got this last assistant coach to commit.
Well, you're gonna do that today, right? You're gonna.
Yeah, I had sent a text to Mac going, you know, I know you've been doubting me, you know, that I would ever get a staff hired, but, you know, like, and he said, no, never doubted you. But I mean, I have a method to my madness. I don't think it's that. I firmly believe in doing things my way and having the right people. And look, you know, if I have 2 assistants or 3, I could have survived a long time with 2 assistants, as long as they're the right 2 and they're really working hard. Because, look, I know there's a lot of people out there that have jobs that probably don't earn their keep, you know? So it's about having the right people to surround our players with. And so, you know, I mean, I'm sure there were a lot of people asking those questions, like, does she know what she's doing? I firmly believe I know what I'm doing. My method might be a little bit different than everybody else's.
We appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Go get a little break. Go get a little vacation or something.
I'm gonna go paddleboard and hang out with my kids this weekend, so it'll be great.
Oh, good for you. Thank you very much,
All
Nicki.
right,
Appreciate
thank you.
it. Nicki Collen, Baylor women's basketball coach, with us in studio here on SicEm365 Radio. Baylor transfer, Arizona transfer.